us all together. Lord, we gather in your name as children of a sovereign God. Forever we proclaim, to God be all glory.
Well, good morning. How you doing? It is Friday, February the 14th, 2025. Welcome to episode 229 of Thinking Theologian, and happy Valentine's Day. So today we read Numbers chapter 7. The title of today is Good Leaders Show the Way. My glasses are crooked. I need to fix that. The focal scripture is in Numbers 7:2, and this is what it says. The leaders of Israel, the heads of their ancestral families, presented an offering. They were the tribal leaders who supervised the registration. And so during my time I've been alive, I've experienced good leaders and I've experienced bad leaders. In secular work, I've seen both good and bad. In church ministry, the same holds true. I've seen both good and bad. The one constant that I've picked up on is good leaders lead by example. They do the hard work even when nobody else wants to at that moment. And so that's just important. They get dirty when everyone else is clean. And an important part to note here is that good leadership means doing the things you don't like, not just the things you prefer. And so what I mean by that is that there are some leaders who will get dirty with the things they like to do or things they're gifted at, but won't do things they're not good at. And so, but the good leaders I've seen, they will admit their faults, they'll admit their mistakes and things they're not good at, but they'll still get involved and do what they need to do and still try to serve, even though it may be difficult for them or something they're not talented at. And they don't look down on others who attempt to do good things, because you're not going to learn something new if you don't make an attempt. But many people are afraid to learn something new because they don't know how that's going to be received. Like for me, I'm not a very handy person when it comes to tools and building things and doing things like that. My skill set is just different. Those things are more difficult for me. I'm not really good at them. I kind of get like, I just don't know what I'm doing. And it's just difficult for me to do those things. And so, but it's hard sometimes for me to admit that or do that because I'm not sure how people are going to respond when they do that. And I've been in some situations where people are excellent teachers and very good and patient, and at other times where they're not. There's just a complete opposite. And so, but good leaders lead in a way, and they do things they're not good at to demonstrate to others that they can be done. So I'm not saying I'm a good leader. I still have a long ways to go. But what I am saying is that people I've witnessed who are good leaders get involved in things, even if it's not in their skill set, they're willing to put forth the effort to do what they need to do because it shows demonstration. They're willing to go out and lead, even in difficult circumstances for them. And so today's reading, the leaders bring a sacrifice. And so we see the people that were in charge of the census, that were in charge of getting people counted, they come and bring a census to the Lord. That's what they were asked to do, and that's what our verse tells us. The leaders of Israel, the heads of their ancestral families, presented an offering. They brought an offering to the Lord in front of the tent of meeting because that's what they were asked to do. And so, and it is done where the entire assembly of the Israelites can see the act. They did it in front of the tent of meeting, so everyone saw it. And so they are demonstrating that this is the proper thing to do, that these things don't just apply to you, they also apply to us as leaders. And so the expectation is that they humble themselves and obey the Lord's commands. This may seem like a small task. It may seem unimportant. However, when you serve in leadership, it becomes easy to think the rules don't apply to you, that you can just do what you want to do and not stay with the person that's in charge. And here, God is in charge and God has given a command to do. And they are demonstrating that we are servants also to the Most High God, and we're going to do what He's asked us to do. And so as a good leader, that you need to do things that you may not understand or may not want to do, but you're leading in a way to demonstrate others because it sets a tone, and it sets a good tone, especially with how you approach it. So you can take the easy way out and not do the hard work, which a lot of leaders do. They just yell, delegate, and micromanage, and they get on to you because you don't do it a certain way. But then you may go to them and say, "Hey, show me, guide me, do this." They may respond with, "Well, if I have to show you how to do it, why are you here?" And so those two things don't go together. I've actually had a person tell me that before. They said they weren't a micromanager, um, but yet wanted me to run everything by them and wanted me to do things the way they wanted me to do it. And the one time I went to them with a situation and said, "Hey, what about this? Will you help me with this?" They looked at me and said, "If I have to do your job for you, you don't need to be here." And so those two things don't go together. And so that's a sign of a bad leader. That's a sign of somebody who doesn't know how to lead. That they're not willing to lead by example. They're not willing to follow what they're doing. And so here, though, in the Israelites, we see them do a good example of leadership because they're actually doing what God's asked them to do. So the challenge for us today is to make sure that we are good leaders. That's what we need to do. No matter if it's at home, at work, or jobs, at church, no matter what it is, we need to be good leaders. We need to be able to do what we expect others to do around us. So if I ask you to do something, I should be willing to do it, but more beneficially, do it myself if the opportunity arises, and not take it over for somebody, but do that same task maybe at the same time or in a different way, or even before somebody asks. That's the best leadership model is before I ask somebody to do something, for them to see it being done by me, because that shows that's what needs to happen, that it's not beneath me to do that. And that's a sign of good leadership, because if the person making decisions is willing to do it, then everybody else is also be willing to do it, because they're like, "Hey, he's not just spitting out information and forcing us to do something." And so every good leader I've served under works hard and does the dirty things nobody else wants to do. They really do. They work really hard. Every bad leader only did what they wanted to do or what they were skilled to do. And I've seen that. They only enjoy doing those things. However, transformative leaders jump in and serve others no matter what, whether they like them, whether they're it's something that's good going on, they do that anyway. So you might be saying, what is the point of all of this? The point is we need to be good leaders as believers. As believers, we need to be good leaders. We should actually be the best leaders. This means at work, at home, and in the world. People should see who we are and how we live. The best leaders should be believed. Okay, they should be believed. And because if we're doing the right thing, we should be believing what we say. Unfortunately, the worst leaders are often professing Christians. They say one thing and lead in an entirely different way. These bad leaders destroy people even though they think they are skilled. I know of one leader that wanted to pursue a degree in leadership. They thought they were a good leader and wanted to pursue a degree in leadership. However, they were the worst leader I've ever been around. Bar none. There's no exception. They were the worst leader I've ever seen, and how they operated and what they did and how they led. And they were just atrocious, but they wanted to get further because they assumed they were a good leader. Even though they spent time on leadership, they didn't know how to lead at all, because nobody was really following them. They intimidated people into following them, but nobody really wanted to follow them. They just did it out of respect for the position, and not respect for the person. And this leader didn't understand people, and didn't really care about individuals. They cared about people who benefited them, not really about the individual. If you did what they wanted to do, then you were on their side. If you didn't do what they wanted you to do, then you became the enemy. And so that's a very weird place to be in, but that's how this person led, and they felt and probably still feel that they are a good leader, even though they're not. And so it was their way or no way. Again, bad leadership, just all around. They left a trail of bodies behind their leadership style. There's so many people that have been hurt and wounded and destroyed, emotionally and spiritually, over what this person has done in their leadership style. But the problem is the leader thinks they're a good leader, and they don't understand that they have caused damage not only to others around them, but also to organizations and to the community as a whole, and they don't see it. And so that's what I mean by understanding who you are as a person, but also being willing to admit your mistakes, that you need to get better. And this person doesn't feel like they do anything wrong. And so that leadership style is detrimental and it is toxic, and it is a problem. And I've seen it only twice in my life, and both times it has been a horrendous experience for everyone involved. And the saddest part is they believe that they were leading people well, even though there's all these issues and bodies that are left behind in the wake. And yet they blame the others for not following their leadership style and understanding that if you're having to drive people to lead you, that you're not leading them. If you're leading people, people are going to follow. You shouldn't have to push them and push them to follow your direction. And so good leadership is humble leadership. They serve, and they serve without question. And they serve because it's what they want to do, because they like doing it, not just in things they want to do. They want to serve people because serving people is what we're called to do as believers. Um, they admit mistakes. Um, leaders ask for help, and it leads by example. So my question is, what type of leader are you? And that's what we need to figure out. So thank you for being with us today. Tomorrow we're going to be in Numbers 8 through 10. Have a good day, and I will see you then.